Welcome to the Listen to Me program, brought to you by Youth Connectedness Initiative, YCI for short, at the Youth Community Service Program, YCS for short. Again, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time on a weeknight to come out and join us. And there was a little rain, so I was afraid that was going to deter some of you guys, but I'm so glad you made it out here and joined us. And I see some familiar faces, so thank you, and new faces, so thank you for joining us. My name is Lily Lamb, and I have the pleasure to be the Parent Program Coordinator for the Youth Connectedness Initiative, YCI. And it's a new program that the Youth Community Service has, and Youth Community Service has been around for 25 years, and they've been helping our local youth with service learning programs and growing. And I first want to introduce the YCI team. So I want to introduce you to my wonderful partner, my counterpart, the youth coordinator, youth program coordinator for the YCI, Yusra Beg.
Hi everyone. Like you mentioned, my name is Yusra. I'm the youth program coordinator. And before I start, can I get a feel of the room? How many youth do we have in the room? Can you raise your hand, please? Proud and raise the crowd. Awesome. How many parents do we have in the room? Awesome. How many adults do we have in the room that work with you? Perfect. That's a mix. I like it. So basically, our focus of our initiative is basically developing collaborations among youth, parents, and adult allies to raise the awareness of youth connectedness and their sense of belonging. And we do that through service learning projects. Some of our projects kind of based off, we're starting a podcast soon. We also make videos. One video we'll be showing you shortly. It's basically raising awareness on a topic that the youth wanted to do. Can I have the peer leaders stand? So we officially have 15 peer leaders. We have Gunn High School, Pali, Palo Alto High School, and Castellea. So we also have a round of applause for them. Awesome. It's been an honor to work with them this past few months, so thank you guys. So just a few housekeeping rules before we start. Cell phones, we all have them. Can you please take them out and put them on silent or vibrate, please? Thank you. Everyone should have received a few papers on their chairs and a button that our peer leaders helped design. One of the many important sheets are of our evaluations that we would like everyone to fill out before you leave. Juan, right here in the red shirt, and Kathy is right there, our main YCS staff members who will be taking your back. So if you haven't already, please help yourself. And then sign in. There's a sign in as well on the left over there. If you haven't already signed in, please do so. And if you don't want your picture taken or videotaped, please come on this side of the room so you're not in the frame. If not, then you're good to go. I'll pass it back on Lily. Thank you.
Thanks, Yusra. So Yusra leads a wonderful team of talented peer leaders that you just saw. And I'm thrilled we're going to have an opportunity later in this program to see one of their service learning projects, a video. And not only do the peer leaders work on their own service learning projects, but all of them pitched in to help develop and outreach of this program tonight. And I just want to give a shout out to Heron and Ashley, who did this amazing poster through like 8 iterations through my changing my mind, so they did this. And the buttons that all of you have on your chairs were designed by the peer leaders as a group effort. And so, everyone on the team also outreached their schools via social media and flyers and even presentations. So I just wanted to thank them all. And our peer leader, Rain, who is our videographer extraordinaire, he is filming the presentation tonight. For those of you who do not, as Yusra said, do not want to be filmed, some of you will already have a dot on your name tag. If you want to sit closer to Rain so you're not in the field of his vision, just sit closer to Rain on this side of the room. Together, as Yusra mentioned, our goal for the YCI initiative is to raise the awareness of youth feeling a sense of belonging in their communities, and also building healthy relationships that help youth thrive. And on your chairs, as youth thrive, our communities thrive, just automatically. So our work is guided by Search Institute, which you might have on your seat there. Their research, and they've done decades of research on well-being and healthy youth and how to create resilient youth and wonderful relationships as a result. And those are, 1, express care, challenge growth, provide support, share the power, and expand possibilities. Now, based on our conversations with our peer leaders and the community members that we've talked to in the last several months, and by the way, last several months, Yusra and I, we just wanted to share that this is the anniversary of our first year of the program. So that's kind of really exciting. So it's very new still. Thanks. So when we were talking with the peer leaders and the community members, during the talks, what came out was a parent program that we produced, our first parent program last December, called Talk to Me. And that was about, talk to me, what do you need to feel connected to school, family, peers, and our community? And in it, we introduced the Youth Connectedness Initiative, YCI, introduced 3 kind of core supports to help implement the 5 elements. So these 3, you also have a handout of this, and it is 3 elements that we felt, the community felt, time, space, and communicate. Make the time and space to communicate. If you do that, then these 3, it helps support these 5. Because I have short-term memory, I can remember time, space, and communicate before I'll learn to do these 5. So anyhow, so these go hand in hand, and hopefully that will be helpful. But that came out of our Talk to Me program, and what was so wonderful is the Talk to Me program started a beautiful conversation between the youth and the adult allies in the room about what youth needed to feel, what they needed to feel like they belonged in their communities. And we learned that in order for youth to talk to us, we, parents, adult allies, counselors, coaches, teachers, we really have to listen. So what does listening feel like? What does it sound like? What is it for the youth? What does that sound like for the youth? What does it feel like? What does it look like? And for the adults, what does that sound like? What does that feel like? And are we really hearing each other? So anyhow, I'm so excited about this. That's why I am so, all that conversation from Talk to Me then led to the development of tonight's program, Listen to Me. And I'm so excited because we have an amazing speaker tonight, and I'm thrilled to introduce our guest speaker tonight, Susan Stone Belton. And Susan is a coach, speaker, and author. She is a certified special education teacher with decades of experience working with children and families. She has presented hundreds of talks throughout the Bay Area, focusing on healthy communications and effective discipline for all ages. And Susan's other professional experiences include teaching teenagers in juvenile hall, operating a home-based preschool, and managing crisis hotlines for parents and teens. Susan also coaches families, is the author of Real Parents, Real Kids, Real Talk, and has an adult son and daughter. I even have Susan's book, which has helped me remember how to be mindful about how to listen and how to talk so that my child hopefully feels that I actually listen, but I don't really know. But, I still have much to learn and much to practice. So Susan has also shared a tip sheet, which is on your chair, and she will go over that with you in a moment. But you'll also have a chance, she also has some resources at her table here, so please feel free to visit it after the program. And so now it is my happy honor and pleasure to welcome Susan Stone Belton. Let's listen to her with eager ears and open hearts.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Teens, thanks for organizing this. I'm happy to be here. And adults, what did you have? Parents and adult allies and coaches and just old people. It's just like we're glad you're here. So I speak very loudly. Can you hear me in the back?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, you have a nice deep voice. I like that. I recognize that voice. Yeah, I like that voice. Yeah, I speak very loudly. No microphones. If I hold the microphone and then I go, and what do you think? And it doesn't work. So I'm not holding it. So if you need me to be louder, feel free. So as a coach, I hear every single day from parents, my kids don't listen to me. Teachers say, my kids don't listen to me. Parents, what do we mean when we say my kids don't listen to me? You all know what you mean. Kids, what do we mean when we say my kids don't listen to me? They don't follow what we say. Thank you. I knew you got it. Thank you. That's what they mean. Parents say, adults say, my kids don't listen to me, meaning my kids don't obey me. My kids don't do what I tell them to do. Now, I have kids every day. I work with all ages. I have kids every day say, Susan, my parents don't listen to me. Do they mean the same thing when kids say that? No. What do they mean? I want a kid. I'm looking at a kid over here. What does a kid mean when they say, my parents don't listen to me? You don't understand me. You know what it really means? It means they don't listen to me. They don't let me finish my sentence. They don't hear what I'm saying. They don't listen to my side of things. They interrupt me. We have to listen. I was working with a 3-year-old girl, 3, who got mad at her mom and stomped her foot and said, Mommy, you're not hearing the words I'm trying to say. And I turned to the mom and I said, yeah, you ought to listen to what she's trying to say. You know what? Our kids have a lot to say. Our kids are interesting. And they have a lot to say. Am I right? You guys are supposed to nod when I compliment you.
Yeah.
But they do. Kids have a lot to say. And I always feel like my kids are grown now. I have a 34-year-old son and a 30-year-old daughter. And they talk with me. And I think it's because I listened to them when they were young. And it's really important that we listen to our kids. They absolutely have a lot to say. And I also want to tell you that I'm here tonight to talk about listening. I'm not here to teach adults how to listen. I'm here to teach everybody how to listen. Okay? Because the way you listen is how you should listen to everybody. You should listen to each other that way. You should listen to your parents that way. You should listen to your coworkers that way. This is just good listening skills. But I certainly want us all to understand the value of saying to our kids, what you have to say is important. What you have to say, I care about. And the only way you can express that is by listening, is by proving it. Not just by saying, yeah, it's important, now I gotta go over here. Right? You gotta really listen. Okay, so everybody has a handout. Can I hold this for a second? So it says communicate to connect. That's how we connect with people, is by communicating. Okay? There's 2 main ways of communicating. You can either follow along or you can just listen, whatever you want to do. You don't have to read it while I'm talking. It's totally up to you what you want to do. You heard Lily say that I used to run crisis hotlines. This is when, I'm old, so this was a long time ago when people used to make a phone call. See how old I am? I think of a phone like this. This is still what I do. You guys even know what this means? A phone? Have you ever seen a phone like this as opposed to a phone like this? Anyways, right? So they used to call and we would listen. People didn't call a hotline just for me to talk to them. They called a hotline to talk. Okay, so I used to run crisis hotlines. And what we know is that listening is much more important than talking. I don't learn anything when I'm talking. I only learn when I'm listening. So listening is much more important. So first of all, what we need to do, and I'm saying this especially to the adults in the room, we need to role model good listening. We get upset when our kids don't listen to us. We get upset when we try to talk to our kids and they don't answer our questions. Well, we need to be the ones to be good listeners first. So we need to listen to our kids the way we want them to listen to us. And I'm putting stress on that. We listen to somebody. Remember that word, because we're going to change it later. Okay? We listen to somebody. And so we need to role model that. So when your kid comes up to you, whether it's your student or your own child, says, I want to talk to you, you got to look at them. You got to put down what you're doing and you got to give them your attention. Okay? It's very important. With this age group, when our kids were little tiny ones, we talked a lot. That was our job. As parents and as adults, our job was to talk a lot and sing a lot and teach them. So we talk. The more words that are being said, the more brain cells are sparking. Okay? As your kid gets older, you need to talk less and listen more. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you need to use them proportionately. Okay? You need to stop talking. Adults, we say the same thing all the time anyways. They know what we're going to say. They can give us the speech. They come home and they go, I forgot my math book. They know what we're going to say because we say the same things over and over again. We have to talk less and listen more, okay? I can't stress that enough. We need to listen more than we talk. We need to be an active listener who listens to understand and not a passive listener who's listening to figure out when it's your turn to talk. So we all do that. Somebody's talking to me, and in your mind you're going, oh yeah? Well, as soon as it's my turn, I know exactly what I'm going to say. Or you're disagreeing with what you're hearing, and you're planning your response. That's being a passive listener. That's being a bad listener. Adults, we need to listen to what our kids are saying. It doesn't mean we agree with everything. It means we need to listen to them. We need to hear what they think. We need to understand their viewpoint. We need to get with them and say, talk to me. I listen. I want to hear what you're thinking, not just waiting so I can be the one to tell you how wrong you are. Right? Which is what a lot of us adults are doing. We're waiting to correct them, and we don't need to do that. We need to be active listeners. We also need to stay focused on the topic. So when they come home and they say, I forgot my math book, you don't need to say, but you always forget your math book, and I'm so tired of you forgetting your math book, and how many times do I have to tell you to remember your math book? You just have to stay focused on that topic. And not only do you forget your math book, you forget to do a lot of things, and it's really right? Just stay on what's on the topic. Don't bring up past issues. Just stay focused. And don't get distracted by the yes, I did, and the kid says, no, you didn't. And while you're doing the yes, no dance, the garbage is still sitting over there, and no one's taking it out. Okay? So when the kid says, when I say, I told you to take out the garbage, and your kid says, no, you didn't, I'm going to say, well, I'm sorry if you don't remember me telling you. I'm sorry if you didn't hear me telling you, but you need to take the garbage out. Don't get bogged down into a power struggle of who's right and who's wrong. Just focus on what the issue is. Okay, I think that's very important. I think you need to be willing to listen to anything, anytime. Kids, what's a great time to talk with you? What time of day is a good time to talk with you?
Dinner.
Anytime? You all right?
In the car. No.
In the car? Yeah. Exactly. That's totally true. But here's the thing that I found with my kids. They come home from school and I go, yay, let's talk. And they go, I don't want to talk right now. Like, I need a break. We have to be willing to listen when our kids are ready to talk. It's not our schedule that's important. I know we think it is, but it's not. We need to be listened. And I know that I used to go to bed at like 10 o'clock at night, and then they were ready to talk. We have a different time clock than kids. An adult's time clock is from about 6 in the morning till 10 at night. A kid's biological time clock is more like from 10 in the morning till midnight. Okay? Anybody take shop first period? Don't do that. That's like dangerous because they're half asleep still. Do you even have shop? There's no such thing anymore. Who can tell? Somebody has to know what shop is. Or else I'm just woodworking, like cool stuff, building stuff. You don't get to build anything, do you? Yeah, you use computers to build things.
That's so different.
But industrial technologies, making stuff like with drills and saws. My son took it at 7:30 in the morning. I was like, no, you're still asleep. Anyways, you got to be willing to, if you want to talk to a kid and the kid is not ready to talk to you, don't just go, fine, you won't talk yet. Wait until they're ready. Okay? And if it means, adults, if it means adjusting your schedule a little bit, do that because it's worth it. It's so important to hear what they want to say. And finally, we need to give them total attention when we're listening. Okay? They know when we're faking it, and we know when they're faking it. So kids, you gotta just give attention to your parents. We'll shut up faster, and then, everyone wants to feel like we're being listened to when we speak, so we have to make sure to do that. Okay, so talking. Okay, so here's where the word is going to be different. We listen to people, but we talk with people. I know that your earlier presentation was called Talk To, right? And I actually, if I had one recommendation, I would change it to Talk With. Because I feel like when somebody's talking to me, I don't really like somebody to talk to me. I want people to talk with me. So I think your presentation was so awesome because it leads to this, and it's just, I'm just tweaking that just for something to think about. But for parents, our job is not to talk to our kids, it's to talk with our kids. So we need to talk with our kids the same way we want them to talk with us. That's our goal as adults, is to be role modeling behaviors we want to see, and being the person we want them to be. So I want you to talk with your kids how you want them to talk with you. Now on your flyer, I said you need to respond with empathy. I don't care what it is your kids say to you, you need to understand. You need to respond with empathy. The definition of empathy, I'm going to read it because I want to make sure I'm saying it correctly. The ability to understand and share the feelings of another. We need to respond with empathy. If a kid comes up to you and says, you know, I'm really unhappy, instead of just saying, oh, what is it now? Right? You need to say, I'm sorry to hear that. Can you tell me what's going on? When your kid comes up to you and says, I hate school, don't say, oh, you go to a wonderful school. What's the problem? Say, I'm sorry to hear that. Tell me about it. Okay? People have to feel heard and understood before they can let go. I was telling my husband the other night that there was a restaurant I wanted to go to. I want to go to restaurant A. And his response was, ooh, I heard about restaurant B. And I'm like, yeah, but I want to go to restaurant A. And he's like, yeah, but restaurant B sounds really good. Now I'm getting mad. Right? He's not listening to me. And so I said, yeah, I want to go to restaurant A. And he goes, fine, we'll go there. What did you want me to say? And I said, well, that. Or he could have said, restaurant A doesn't sound very good to me. I don't think I want to go there. I've heard about restaurant B. But I couldn't talk about restaurant B until he answered me about restaurant A. Does that make sense? So kids need to feel heard and understood. Again, it doesn't mean you're giving in. It doesn't mean you're agreeing with everything. It means they want to feel heard and understood. And again, this is not just kids. Kids, you got to do that too. You got to listen to understand. Even if you're disagreeing with what the adult is saying to you, you got to try to listen and understand. Your turn is coming when you get to talk, right? But while you're listening, you have to try to listen to understand. So I wrote it down. I said talk at bedtime, in the car, and at the dinner table. And what they all have in common is their side-by-side activities. And yes, who said in the car? There's trapped. Yeah, because if you start to get out, I can just go faster, and then you're totally trapped in the car. But the truth is that in the car or at bedtime, I'm looking this way, and my kid is looking this way. Teens, not all, some teens have a hard time with eye-to-eye contact. And so when we say to our kids, you need to talk with me, it's like nobody, they don't like that. So doing side-by-side activities is a good way to get kids to interact. Okay? Having something to do as opposed to sit down. You know, go for a walk or throw a frisbee or bake something. Doing side-by-side activities. When you used to think, now kids are in the room with the door closed on playing computer games. But it used to be, younger kids were like boys, with like 4 boys would sit on the couch, right? All staring at the TV playing a video game. Okay? Well, they were side-by-side, not looking at each other. Okay? So, yeah, side-by-side activities are great. And then the last thing two things I said is, we need to ask teens, what they think. They have good ideas. They're really smart. We need to ask them their opinion. Their opinion and their ideas and their suggestions are just as valid as ours. And so many times when parents call me up and say, I'm having a problem with my kid, my teenager's doing this, and I don't know what to do. I'm like, well, what does your teen think? And they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, you should first talk to your teen and say, we're having this problem, what should we do? Before you call a professional. Like, they're a professional too. They're involved. So we need to ask teens what they think. And we also need to ask teens for their help. Okay? And that can be emotional help. And that can be just be practical help. They're really good at a lot of things. They're really talented. I'm blown away by the flyers they make and the stuff you make on your computers. It's like really awesome. Okay? So I think that we need to ask them for their help. I think when we ask teens for help, we're letting them know that they're needed and that they're important and that we're counting on them, which is true. Don't fake it and do that. But I often turn to kids and say, I need help with something. And it might be, an emotional thing. Okay? So that's just a handout. I wanted you to make sure. And here's a few final thoughts. Adults, you do not need to know everything. You think you need to know everything, but you don't need to know everything. You need to know enough. So to the teens in the room, you don't have to tell your parents everything.
Hey, help us out here.
They have to tell you enough. And kids, when you don't tell your parents anything, they assume everything's wrong. So you need to tell your parents enough so they feel comfortable. And every family is going to have to figure out what enough is. But the truth is that we don't need to know everything. We need to know enough. And kids, you don't have to tell everything. You need to tell enough. Okay? Very important. The other thing that I want to remind everybody, is that not everything is a crisis. Not everything is an emergency that has to be discussed right now. It's like, let's all relax and we can talk about it in the morning. Okay? It doesn't all have to be discussed the instant it happens, the instant we think we should discuss it. We can wait. I have a lot of kids, I've had teenagers tell me, and you guys can nod, not in agreement, but if you think I'm accurate with this. I've had a lot of teens tell me that they often lie to their parents because they know the truth is going to come out, but they'd rather deal with it in 3 days than deal with it right now. So it's not that they think I'm going to get away with this. Sometimes they hope that. But oftentimes kids are just like, I just don't want to deal with it now. And so I lie to put it off. And as parents, I think we should be willing to, maybe not 3 days, but it doesn't have to be talked about immediately. It can be talked about later that evening. It can be talked about the next morning. Okay? We want to look for moments throughout the day to talk and listen. It's not just sitting down and having the talk or a talk. It's just like send a text or make a phone call or just have little conversations throughout the day. Again, communicate to connect. We can communicate in little short moments throughout the day. For adults, be yourself. You don't just have to have on your, I have to put my hands down now. You don't have to have on your teacher visor, right? And so I'm a teacher and this is what I show to kids. Or I have on my mom visor and this is me. You know what? Over here is Susan. There's a lot of Susan over here also. And I think that kids can handle getting to know us as people. And I think that it's okay for us to say some of this, not just approach everything from I'm the mom, and so I think that moms would do this, and so I better do this. When in truth, I don't really care. Like, I let my daughter slam a door, like, a lot. Like, it made her feel better when she slammed the door. So the mom was like, oh, no, kids should not be allowed to slam doors. But Susan actually said, I don't really care. Like, she wasn't allowed to slam any other door, but she could slam her own bedroom door, because Susan didn't really mind. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay? It's okay to be yourself. It's okay to share some feelings and to, maybe even let out a swear word once in a while. It's okay. Your kids can handle it. And the final thing that I want to tell you before we move on to this wonderful tape that the kids made is adults, we have to, and kids, mainly adults, we have to have the self-discipline not to yell. I know our buttons get pushed. We love our kids this much, and so we get mad at them this much, and we get frustrated this much, and we end up often yelling at our kids. And I used to be a yeller, and I taught myself not to be a yeller, and the way I taught myself not to yell was I would just take a step back, and I would pretend that it was my student. And I would just deal with the kid like they were my student, because I would never yell at my student. So for the adult allies in the room, you're going, well, yeah, of course, I would never yell at kids. Oh, well, you yell at them all the time. We have to, when you're tempted to yell, just take a step back and take the emotion out of it and say, there's a kid in front of me who needs my help. I don't care what age it is. And yelling doesn't help anybody. Okay? It just doesn't help. Now, we're going to run the tape. I just want to tell you that I'm wearing a wrist outside. We're going to watch the tape. We're going to watch half the tape. We're going to have a discussion about it. Okay? And then we're going to watch the second half and have another discussion.
In the high-stress environment where we live in today, students have more anxiety and stress than ever before. Almost half of today's high school students report feeling a great deal of stress on a daily basis. Students under large amounts of stress can get panic attacks that make it almost impossible to do simple things like taking a math test. As their classes begin to assign more and more work, feelings of anxiety, panic, and nervousness slowly creep in. Taking a difficult math test on top of all that stress sometimes is too much to handle and causes a student to have a panic or anxiety attack that would leave him unable to complete the test. Many teachers do not take students' claims of stress-related issues seriously. They disregard them as excuses. And when teachers do not support students and instead punish them, it only makes the situation worse. If a teacher fails a student who is unable to take a test due to anxiety, the stress would continue to grow inside, building itself up more and more, lingering itself all the way home. Unfortunately, when a student returns home, they may be faced with more consequences, since many stress-related issues are overlooked in the household as well. Some parents may not realize the situation their child is faced with, and react by yelling at them with a lack of understanding of what's essentially going on. This type of reaction makes the problem much worse and only increases the student's stress.
I've had enough of talking to you. I'm done.
By emphasizing with the child, recognizing and realizing the issue, parents can have a major positive impact on the stress and anxiety issues their child is dealing with. A parent that listens to their kids and helps them deal with their stress is the first step back onto the right track. A student who has a good relationship with their parent will have someone they're comfortable to talk to, whether that be about academic problems, stress, or other mental health issues. The positive impact that a relationship like this can have on a struggling student is incredible, and is crucial to a student growing up in the stressful environment we live in.
Well, I want you to know this. There is more to life than math tests, alright? It's gonna be okay. Come here.
I feel so much better. I feel so much better. Before we even address that, I want to know something from the youth in the audience. How many of you want to have a loving, close relationship with your parents? I know it sounds dumb, but right? I mean, there's a lot. I hear parents call me and say, my kids won't talk to me, they don't even like me, they don't care what I have to say, right? And I don't believe that. Kids want to be close to their parents. Kids want to have adults in their lives, okay? And I think that we've got to be more like that dad. Now, I'm not so sure that I'm just going to go, here, let's hug it out and not finish talking about it. I think we kind of have to then have a conversation about, what can we do the next time you're feeling anxious, and how can I help you with that and that kind of thing. But I think just the way the dad, sat forward and put down his book and leaned in and said, I'm here to listen to you. You know, the kid did not try to mess up. The kid was trying to do his best, and we can't always do our best. Okay? So who else has a comment to make about that? We got half an hour, so you guys might as well talk. So we're here to have some conversation. Yes.
So I think in the film, the kid actually realized that he's having an anxiety attack. But most of the cases, kids say, I just messed it up. I don't know what happened.
Yes.
So then it could be a problem. Like parents could have a lot of guess what might have happened, but the kids, if he cannot describe and trying to share the problem, share the emotions, that would be a hard problem.
Yes, I totally, did everyone hear that? Did you hear it? Yeah, and I totally agree. In this case, the youth was really good at saying, I had an anxiety attack. He recognized what was happening. Can I ask something of the youth? If that was happening to you, would any teacher be receptive to hearing that? What would happen if you really, in class, stood up and said, I got to get out of here. I need a break. What would happen? Are your teachers open? Yeah.
I think that's dependent on the teacher. Some teachers are very flexible with that. But there's also teachers that also kind of see that as an excuse, like, oh, you kind of just, right, you got to take it down.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it just definitely depends.
Yeah. It's all
Yeah.
depends.
Do you feel comfortable saying I need a break or no? No. Right. Right. No, I think that's hard, right? Like I wish you could, but I totally get that. Like I probably wouldn't either. But you know, I do think that it is a hard thing. I mean, again, I think the youth did a great job. I'm so excited to see. I want your autograph. I want your autograph.
So if this situation occurs where a child is feeling frustrated, and this was very illuminating, so I really applaud the team and the actors, because we don't get a chance as parents to see what goes on in the classroom. So this was like the first time I got to see what really happens sometimes. But how do you get to that? Like, how do you understand? What are some of the right questions to ask about a test? Because we've all, parents here, parent community, we've all asked, so how is that test? Is that the right question to ask? Or what should we ask?
Youth, what should your parent? No, it's a great question. I think, and I think that you know, for me, what I would say is, so tell me, how was it? As opposed to asking a lot of questions. Do you like it when your parents ask a lot of questions? Some people it's okay, right? Some people don't mind, and some kids don't really like it. And I know that I've talked with a lot of kids who they don't want to start answering questions because they're afraid that once they start, then we're going to ask more and more and more and more. So when they get home from school and we say, how was your day? And they go, fine. It's like, I don't really want to get into it. The other thing is sometimes, again, this gets tied into the right time to ask. Like when I go home tonight, my husband is going to look at me and go, so how did it go? And I'm going to go, fine. Because I just did it. And I don't want to talk about it that minute. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm home now. Now I want to brush my teeth and get in PJs. I don't want to talk about it. I just did it. So I think that when our kids walk in the door, we go, so how was school? Did you remember your book? What did you get on the test? What did you have for lunch? What did your friends do? They go, ah! And they don't want to talk, right? So first of all, maybe waiting. But I want to know from the youth. If your parents want to ask you about a test, oh, sorry, I walked out of the camera, I'm sorry. So if your parents want to ask you about school or ask you about a test, you guys educate us. What's better for you? What's a better way for your parents to talk to you? And even if it's not you directly, just youth in general, that's what you're here, you're representing the youth. And you can teach us. What do you think? With what? Everything!
How I don't really like when my mom asks me a lot of questions. I like her just asking, how was the test? Or like, that's it. And not going, yeah, you think you got this grade, you think you did that, did this question go bad, blah, blah, blah. One question, and then it's good. You know?
Yeah, one question. question, listen to their answer, and then parents, shut up. You don't have to say anything more. Like just listen to their answer and then actually pause for a moment and maybe the kids will say something else. Who else wanted to answer my question? Yeah.
I don't really know if this is going to help, but personally, I like it when my parents just let me know that they're open to listen to me, but let me come to them instead of coming to me with questions. So I feel less obliged to answer and more, like, I have more of a want to go trust them.
And how can they tell you that they want to talk or that they're open to listening?
I guess just like making a comment, telling them that they're willing to listen to me if I want to talk.
So literally just saying, hey, I'm here when you feel like talking about it. Is that right? Is that a good thing?
Can I do a following question? So what if a few days have passed, but you know something's bothering my child, but they haven't came to the parent? What's the next step?
Yeah. So I'm going to go to my kid and I'm going to say, hey, it really seems like something's been bothering you, and could you let me know if there's something you want to talk to me about? Because you can talk to me about anything. But we have to prove that. You have to do that before you say, oh, you can talk to me about anything. I won't get mad. If that's not true, then you got to work on that, right? So what do the kids want us to do? What's the kids' answer to that question?
What was the question?
Use your stand up and ask that again, so they can hear you. Yeah.
So basically, so my question was, if a parent does come, has been noticing that something's bothering you, and it's been a couple of days that you haven't, what's your response? How would you respond?
Like answer their question, like what's been bothering you, right?
Yeah, but if you say like, I don't want to talk about it, then what?
How should the parent respond?
Or what would you want from your parent to support you?
I think just that's fine, like letting them know that they've noticed something, and then I can just come to them.
But then you're like, nah, I don't want to talk about it, and then a couple of days.
Then we
more
have to
it's
be
like-
okay with that. And we have to say that I'm here when you're ready. You guys have a lot to say. I love it. Go. Both of you.
Taking us out of the situation. Like, if we're stressed about, I don't know, like, we feel this way, but we don't want to tell you about it. Take us out to, like, do something fun. Like, we don't want to be stuck in the house, like, stress more about it, because that's just, like, making us just get more stressed. Like,
Yeah.
be like, yo, we're going to go miniature golf or bowling. Let's grab pizza or, like, donuts or whatever. Or, like, bring me Taco Bell during lunch. You know, that'd be fun.
What time is lunch?
12:35.
Okay.
Perfect time.
And what were you going to add?
Oh, I was just pointing at him.
Oh, you were just pointing at them. Nice. Looking up. What would you want?
Not even asking you any questions or just having this discussion.
Yeah. So this little guy says, don't even ask. Just I'll go to my parents when I'm ready. I think the job of the adults is exactly that, is to say, I'm here. I'm here anytime. And if you're ready to talk at midnight, I'll talk at midnight. Right? And if you want to talk 2 days later, then I'll talk 2 days later, because not everything is an emergency. Okay? But we have to prove to our kids that that's what we want and that we care. But I'll also say it's helpful to the youth if you do share a little bit. That's what I was saying. You don't have to tell us everything. But when you tell us nothing, we worry. When you tell us nothing is when we start asking questions. Because we feel like we don't know anything. Okay? Yeah.
What if that does happen, right? When a youth is not telling you anything, right? And you're still expressing to the youth, I'm here to listen whenever you're ready. And then 3 days goes by, a week goes by, you're still expressing that, hey, I'm here to listen. And you're still not willing to open up to you. And you feel that there is something serious going on. Then
Yeah. So first of all, I love that. So first of all, sometimes as adults, we're still hung up on the fact that on Monday our kid came home and looked upset. And on Friday we're still nervous because our kid hasn't told us. And in the meantime, the kid, it's over. And they moved way past it, whatever it was. Like, it wasn't necessarily something that they had to talk about with us. I think that if an adult is truly concerned that there is something going on, I mean, you just need to sit down one-on-one over Taco Bell, or while playing miniature golf, or just saying, come in my bedroom, and, dude, what's going on? I just sense something's happening. I care about you. I love you, and I need you to open up and let me know. And again, it might not be you have to tell me every detail. Reassure me that it's okay. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, let them know that you're paying attention, right? Like, just don't be like, it's that one instance that you're noticing, like, this pattern. Just let them know that you're noticing, and that you're aware.
Yeah, it seems like you've been really quiet lately. It seems you've been really down lately. It seems like you haven't been playing video games as much. You haven't gone out with your friends at all this week. And normally you do. And I noticed that every single head is nodding yes. There's a lot of people who feel like they can't connect at all with their parents. And listen, I'm sorry, that's the parents' fault. We're not doing our job. We're not doing our job if the relationship with our kids is such that they don't even feel like they can come to us. So we're the ones. The adults are the ones. We can't just say, well, my kid never talks to me. It's so frustrating. Instead of being frustrated by that, we need to stop and say, so what am I doing? What are we doing that's setting it up so my kids can't connect with me? Okay, we need to be the ones first. Yeah.
I want to say caveat to that. So I have a 14 and a 16-year-old. Read all the parenting books. They know I'm here. We can talk. But I think with the internet, I mean, there's just such a digital divide between me and them. It's like we're from two different planets, it seems like. So they have the security. They know I'm there, but it's like we're not the same creatures almost. Like the things that they enjoy is just different. I don't get it, or it's really hard to do something other than have Taco Bell. I think.
Our world. You want to talk to us? Come to our world. That's how it's going to work. We're not going to come to your world. Stay on your like, no game.
So I want to know, so I agree with both of you. So first of all, to the youth in the room, you get that, right? Like, we did not grow up with the stuff you're doing, right? We just didn't. So for a lot of parents, a lot of adults who work with you, it's hard for us to fully understand social media, to fully understand life on a computer. I mean, your entire lives, you've been on technology and on computers. I mean, it's been in your life. Okay? I mean, just to put that in perspective, my kids, and again, just to think about the ages, my kids are 34 and 30, and when they were younger, we had one PC desktop computer in the house. And everybody used it. One for the family. And it was like, wow, we got a computer. One for the family. Mom used it, Dad used it. So it's just different. My son had a Nintendo game when he was 12. And it was like this big deal that he got Nintendo when he was 12. So I'm just saying it's not that long ago, right? Like, we grew up with nothing. We didn't have any of it. But I totally agree. I'm sorry because I can't see your name for back here.
Scott.
He is absolutely right. We need to go there. We need to learn about it. We don't need to invade it. You know, we took over MySpace, and they all left MySpace and went to Facebook, and then we all invaded Facebook, and they left Facebook, and they went somewhere else. But I think when you say, like, they're interested in different things, so what? Learn about it. You don't have to do it. You don't have to say, I have no interest in snowboarding, so don't even talk to me about it.
I learned
You can say,
snowboarding,
but you can still get involved. You can still get engaged. You can still learn about it. And I do think that we should be. I think how many of you like getting texts? Right? I mean, listen, when my kid forgets a math book, and I'm telling at the breakfast table, you need to remember your math book today. I'm sick of you forgetting it. You forget it all the time, and I'm tired of reminding you. That's like horrible. If I send a text, remember your math book. Done. No lecture, right? And the kid is able to hear it. The second I say, I'm so tired, they're done listening. Am I right? You tune it out. Plus, they've already heard my lecture before, so they don't need to hear anymore. Yes?
Oh, just adding on to that, I feel like everyone has their own thing, whether that be like, I don't know, for girls, makeup, clothes, or like gaming, whatever it is. If your kid's into basketball, right, you put on the latest game, we're directly going to come and sit down with you and watch that basketball. If we're into some weird, whack YouTuber that plays Fortnite, I don't know, right, put it on the TV and just watch it. That's all. We just need your presence at the time.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying about ask them, ask them for help and ask them what they think. It's like, show me. Instead of just saying, turn off that video game, right? Because this is like I get called every single solitary day. My kid's addicted to video games. It's the biggest problem. So when I go to talk with the kid, I don't just say, turn off the video game. I go, tell me about the game. Explain it to me. I want to understand this game. Then I might have to help you try to cut back a little bit. Because then I say to kids, how much do you think you're playing it? And I had one kid figure out that he was on it like 9 hours a day. Every single solitary day. And more on the weekends. And I'm like, don't you think that's a lot? And he goes, that's what I do. That's what I do, yeah.
I was basically just going to go with what you just said, but also with the whole different worlds colliding and kind of going parallel with what Mr. was saying. I got a WhatsApp because my mom uses it so much to communicate with her family, but using gifts kind of helped us kind of come together as well. But I feel like it goes with both sides, like from the parent point of view, but also the child. But the child has to be making an effort to want to connect with their parents, and then vice versa with the parent wanting to connect with their child. Whereas I'm not into video games, and then I want to connect with my brothers, but also my dad. So we'll all play Nintendo together on Mario Kart. But it's like it only lasts 10 minutes, but we're like, all right, we spend time together, kind of way. But it goes both ways, and then similar to what you're saying.
That's those little moments, right? Just those little moments. Dropping off Taco Bell and having to see your kid for 5 minutes. It all means something.
Yeah, I have an interesting question. I thought that he mentioned how we should go to their world. So how we should go, how we can go to their world. I need a lesson the youth steps.
So she wants a lesson in how do adults go to the youth world. And I while you're drinking that, I'm just gonna. I think, and I want you to talk when I'm done. We need to say, show me, I care, I'm interested, educate me, explain that to me, help me get it, show me what you're looking at, instead of just saying, turn it off, shut it down, you've been on it too long, whatever it might be. Just literally say, I'm interested. And we have to be interested. You can't fake it. You have to be interested.
I was really interested. They said, forget it, Mom.
And you know what? We don't have to, when I say interested, we don't have to play for 6 hours. Like, just like, when you show me. Okay, well, now fix what I just said. Why don't you just come up here?
Yeah?
Why don't you just come up here? Any other youth, we're here. Listen, I'm totally serious. Wait, youth. I love that, youth. Remember the movie? Listen, we want to, every adult in this room wants to learn from you guys. Youth in the room. The adults here want to learn from you, okay? I feel like maybe I'm saying some accurate things because I've worked with a lot of kids, but there's too many of you in the room.
Just grab it. Just real, man. Just like 1, 2, 3. There you go.
Okay. Now, ask your question again, ma'am. Ask your question again.
Yeah, how we can go to your world? What we should do so you guys know.
What not to do is do not use our slang. Please do not.
We define slang.
Like the words. Any words that you don't understand. If you say something you don't understand, just don't try to mimic it.
Yeah, short and simple. Do not use words that you're not
used to saying, like, if you're not used to saying LOL, don't say LOL. We're gonna find that a little bit weird. We're just like, oh, okay, you're saying what I'm saying. It's kind of like a parrot thing, you know?
I think to get to our world, you kind of have to integrate technology more into your life, because we spend a lot of hours on our phone. So maybe if you use your phone more or text us more, then you'll, like, I don't know why, it'll like allow us to communicate better, just because that's how we communicate now with our friends.
Yeah, it always like helps, like if I told my mom that I'm having like a stressful day, like if she texts me and says like, you can do this, like you're gonna have a great day, you know, like it always like gives me a little boost of confidence, so I'm not as stressed about like my test or my presentation or whatever.
Find out what we're interested in. Like me and my brother were crazy about cars, you know, burnouts, whatever, like high horsepower, like big engines, right? And when we try to show our mom or our dad something, they're like, oh my god, I can't watch this. These people are crazy, whatever, right? Like, don't say that. Just be like, oh, that's cool. Like, try to be interested. Don't just try to like throw it. Like, it's what we're interested in. Whether you're interested in it or not is not the issue. We're interested in it. So it may be a phase. It may not be a phase. We may become whatever we're looking at. But I mean, just try to be interested. You know. That's
And
what
why
we are.
wouldn't we be interested? He's not my son, but pretend he's my son. He's my son. I love him. Why wouldn't I be interested in what he's interested in? I want to connect with my kid. I want to bond with my kid. So I need to be interested. It doesn't mean I'm going to watch it as much. It means I want to get to know my kid by seeing what they're interested in.
It's like learning what our interests are. You're learning more about who we are, basically. Just small like that.
And I love that. Just a little brief message. Of course they want to hear from us.
Going back to the technology, like, yeah, we're on our technology all the time, so don't tell us, get off your phone. That's what my mom does, and like, that's like what 99% of their fights are about my phone. And
Makes
it's
me wanna be on
very
my phone.
annoying.
But
Oh,
So
wait.
don't do that.
Wait, say that one more time.
it makes me want to be on my phone even more.
Did everyone hear that? Here's a question or a comment. He's going to make it in a minute. But that was so important, I had to interrupt you. The more we nag them, it pushes them in the other direction. So now, you know that sometimes we have to tell you to get off the phone, right?
That's why
There-
my parents have screen time.
There does need to be limits. And parents, it's appropriate for us to say. In fact, none of the youth are going to like this, but parents, cell phones should be charged like overnight in their bedrooms, okay? Let me ask what grade each of you are.
I'm a sophomore.
Sophomore.
Freshman.
Freshman.
Sixth grade, that doesn't.
Sixth grade that doesn't have a phone. Good job, Mom. Good. That's right. You all can have a phone. Good. I'm glad you have a phone. It's okay for us to have some limits. We need to help our kids have limits. Because there's a lot of kids who it's too hard for them to turn it off. Okay? So if you have a kid and they really can't turn it off, it's okay for us to have some limits. Okay? Trust and independence is earned.
I have a question.
Right?
I have a question. So if the parent is setting a limit and like say, how would you like a limit to be set in a way that enables you to feel like you're being heard and respected and not just, I say so from the parent?
I would say, give us a reason why you're saying that limitation to begin with, right? Like, for me, like, I know for a fact that, like, the reason why I stay up late is because I'm on my phone. That could be a good, like, reason why you're setting that limitation. It's like, because you're staying up late, it's affecting how you perform in school. Not necessarily that should be, like, the main focus, but, like, it's not, like, giving you energy to just do things. So give a reason why.
Like for me, my parents have a limit. I can't use my phone after 10 o'clock, because then my social media and my game.
Have it happen, because it does turn out to be helpful.
Yeah, I was just going to add on to what Justin was saying about giving us a reason why you're doing something, because I really respect honesty with my parents, and when they're not just like giving me orders about what to do something, when they're really explaining why they're doing something, it really makes me feel more a part of like my own decisions in my own life, and it honestly feels a lot more like I have like choices rather than like what I'm being told to do at this exact moment. So I think if parents can honestly try to be more authentic with their kids, then it'll be like better in total, because I'll feel more comfortable
parents, we have to explain why. We have to have a reason, even if our kids don't agree with it. We still have to have a reason.
I also think that like a lot of the time, like with this, and then also like a lot of other things, me and my parents have very similar goals. We just have like different ideas about doing it. So making things more of like a conversation instead of like, oh, I'm gonna tell you to do this, and I'm not gonna give you any reasoning why. Like I'm your parent, and like this is what I want you to do, so we're gonna do it. Like doesn't really make sense because maybe like if you would just talk to me about it, then we would actually get to the same result, but without like all of the negativity that comes with it.
That is really deep. No, that was good. Did you hear that? Youth and parents have the same goals. Let's figure out how to get there. I love that. I'm going to remember that. I'm going to start using that. Wait, you had that wanting to say something. Do you remember what it is?
I was going to add one thing to limits.
Go ahead.
If you have limits, then your kid can't be on their phone or the computer like 2 a.m. in the morning. They wake up and they can't sleep. Because that will happen.
That does happen.
Past experience, that does happen.
Speaking from personal experience? Yeah. Okay, thank you. You can stand here or sit down, because you're absolutely right. If we have limits, if it's not in the room, then they can't go back on. Yeah.
I think one thing that's definitely helped me is when I go and I study, like instead of studying in my room, like I'll just go into next to my mom or my dad in like the living room, and I'll just study next to them. Because rather than my parents taking away my phone, and then, whenever my parents take away my phone, I always feel like really mad because I'm like, oh, you don't trust me, and then like 5 seconds later, I'm in my room like watching Netflix. So like that never helps. What helps me is when my parents come in and check on me and like bring me like, I don't know, fruit or something like that, and they like sit down and they're like, how's the studying going? And then they just sit there and like read a book while I study, because I'm not going to go on my phone in front of them. Like they're definitely going to yell at me. So it just helps with that.
I think.
So how do we evolve the relationship so we're not the policeman? Trying to make sure that you're not on the Netflix, or trying to make sure you're not up at 2 in the morning. I don't want to be a policeman on you guys. You got to make your own decision. But so far, you're making pretty good.
Kelly.
I feel like I totally agree there needs to be limitations, but I also think it's important for us to deal with the consequences of our actions, because when we set limits, it doesn't let us see like the real consequences of like staying up late because I'm on my phone. So when I make a decision on my own and I'm like, oh my god, I'm just gonna stay up on my phone until like 12 in the morning, I'm the one who gets the lack of sleep, so I'm the one who has to deal with those consequences, and I limit my actions better instead of having my parents tell me, oh, you have to like put your phone outside the bedroom and you have to do this and you have to do that, letting myself learn those lessons on my own helps a lot.
But then I'm going to say to you, I love that, because I think that everything has a consequence, right? And that our job, parents and adults, our job is for us to have our kids recognize that there's consequences for their actions. Stop and think and make the right choice. That's what this is all about. So for you though, if the consequence is that you're the one with, who loses sleep and doesn't feel well, if I don't think as your parent that you're getting that despite experiencing the consequences, then I'm going to have to say, okay, but you know what, if 3 days go by and you don't seem to be changing your own behavior, then I'm going to have to put some limits on you. And I think that part of, I think that the problem is we do feel like we have to be the police. And I think that one way to do that is to talk more and just say, I don't want to be the policeman here, but this is what I'm concerned about. So help me with what my concerns are. As parents, we tend to go no. The kid goes, can I? No. Whatever, we don't even know what it is yet. We're always saying no. I like to give kids a chance to turn my no into a yes. Right? So we're going to talk about it. So no, I don't want you to go to the party because I don't know whose house it is. I haven't talked to the parents. I don't know who's driving you. And if you can reassure me, then maybe it can become a yes. But I think that as opposed to us just saying, we know best, and this is how it is, and the conversation is over, I think then we really do feel like we're being the police. as opposed to sitting down and saying, let's talk about this together. And if your kid goes, I'm not talking to you, then you go, then the answer's no. Like, then I'm gonna have to be the policeman. But if you're mature enough to come join me in a conversation and let's work on this together, then I don't have to be such a policeman all the time. Yeah.
Yes, two. One, if you have access to the Wi-Fi router, you can turn it off at different times.
You weren't supposed to say that.
Okay.
Wait a second.
Just forget whatever you heard.
Nothing was said.
Was that erase the tape?
Yeah, okay.
Wait, listen, I just want to say this. We can do that as parents. And I know there's adults in the room who have done that. But you know what? I don't want to do that. I want my kid to learn to turn it off and be responsible themselves. Right? I don't want it to be, I'm turning it off at this time. Oh, and now my kid's following the rules. No, they're not following the rules. They're just not on it anymore because you've turned it off. Right? So I have a little bit of a problem with that. I know lots of families who do that.
Do you also have a problem with, and I was wondering if anyone else does this, we don't do this at home, but putting all the devices away at a certain time, or, which I learned about last week at a talk called Screen Smart, having a digital Sabbath so that everyone puts everything away to the extent that they can. You know, some parents ask, well, is Waze okay? Because I don't know how to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely think that sometimes, depending on whether your child is able enough and like has the self-restraint, I think that it can be very beneficial to not have like a physical place where you have to go put them, because I think that it can help a lot with building trust. If you know that your child has shown signs of being responsible enough to be able to put it away when it's time, like you can just knock on the door and say, hey, your time is up. And even if it's just leaving it on the counter as opposed to like locked in a box somewhere or like shutting off their like Wi-Fi altogether, I think that it's definitely conducive to the relationship and less, you don't feel as much like the police if it's based more in trust as opposed to in like enforcement of the punishment.
I agree with you. But I think it shouldn't just be like the student's or the child's device. It should be everyone's device. Like, hey, let's put our devices here. Like, not like while we watch a movie or something. Or
yeah, because if I have to be responsible and put my device away so I don't use it that much, then you should be responsible and provide that example and put it away as well.
It's a full team effort. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I found that one thing that helps, I'm going to repeat again, but texts actually do help because, so the thing is my parents, they can see what I'm doing on the Wi-Fi. So like if they see that I've been spending too much time on my phone, like they'll just send me a text like, hey, time to get off your phone and go do something productive. And then usually I'll get off. But if I don't, then that's when you shut off the Wi-Fi. But first you want to have that warning and then just continue checking the Wi-Fi network to see what your kid is doing. And then that sort of does help.
Adults, we need to be the and we need to act the way we want our kids to act. So you cannot say, I'm looking at my phone, get off your phone, and I'm looking on my phone, okay? If you're gonna have a rule, no phones at the dinner table, then it means no phones at the dinner table, okay? And we're gonna have to wrap up very quickly. So 2 more quick thoughts, yeah.
I just wanted to shift gears a little bit to actually the video. As the lady over here had mentioned earlier about like mental health and that not everyone cannot identify having a mental health issue. So how do you remove the stigma or the shame that a child feels and relaying that to whether it's parents, adult peers, or their own personal peers? Because I know there's a lot of competitive aspect to like not doing well in school, and so how do you make that, something that you can confront and do better with?
So I think it's a great question. I think it's really important, and we didn't go off on that anxiety part that much. There are a lot of people who are dealing with depression. There are a lot of youth who are dealing with anxiety. And I think that we need to be aware if things do seem like they're different. When I talk with kids and I'm thinking maybe that there's something going on, I ask them if they think that their level of stress is similar to their friends, or if their level of feelings is similar to how their friends are feeling. And oftentimes I'll have kids say, no, I have a much harder time during tests than my friends, and things like that. And as far as the stigma, that's something that society has to work on, right? It's an illness, okay? And there should not be any judgment to anybody, adult or child, who is dealing with depression or anxiety. And maybe that whole topic can be another workshop that we put on, the whole topic specifically about dealing with depression and anxiety. There is a lot. I think in the meantime, though, I know we kind of have to wrap up, so I'm just going to say, do you want to say anything more? No. So can we just give every youth in the room and also, truly, I want to give the adults in the room some applause also. You came tonight because you care. You came tonight because you want to be involved. And you came tonight, it is. No, that's exactly right. You can't connect until you really learn how to connect. So I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank you for organizing. There's more food, there's tables to look at. And thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Let's give Susan another round of applause. Thank you again, and thank you. I just appreciate all you guys being here, and just give everybody another round of applause.